Chair would like to now recognize Mr. Friedman. The floor is yours, and after him, we'll open up to the rest of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and the board for indulging me for a few minutes. Again, I'm Brandon Friedman from District 14. I had originally intended to make a case this evening for why we, as the body appointed to oversee the Dallas Police Department, needed to get some clarity from Chief Como regarding whether and how he intends to collaborate with ICE and the Department of Homeland Security on immigration enforcement. But he pretty much cleared it up for us on Thursday during an interview with WFAA. In fact, he was very clear. When asked by the reporter about collaborating with ICE, he said, quote, "We will work shoulder to shoulder with all of our federal partners when they need our assistance. We'll be there to support them as long as it's being done legally and by the law. If ICE is the lead on an operation and they need our support, we will be there to help them." Now, I was just told when I walked in tonight that Chief Como will elaborate on this in a memo. And while I look forward to that, I'll be honest, I found his answer quite troubling given the many recent stories centered on the brutality, cruelty, and lawlessness of ICE. And I think this is a vitally important topic for Dallas residents and one we need to address. So that no one thinks I'm an alarmist, and to further the point, I'm just going to read off a few headlines, all from the last few weeks. The first is from KFOR in Oklahoma. "We're citizens. Oklahoma City family traumatized after ICE raids home, but they weren't suspects." CNN, 3 children who are U.S. citizens, including one with cancer, deported with their mothers. ABC, ICE did not have a warrant when agents detained Mahmoud Khalil, according to court filing. The Guardian, Tufts University student detained by ICE for writing op-ed. NBC, Massachusetts woman speaks out after video shows ICE agents smashing car window to get husband. NBC Boston, harrowing video shows Worcester police hold 16-year-old girl's face on pavement during ICE operation. New York Times, Newark Mayor Ross Baraka arrested by ICE at protest outside ICE detention center. MSNBC, quote, "Never seen anything like it," unquote. New Jersey congressman reacts to Newark mayor arrest. Axios, Trump administration eyes arrests for House Democrats over ICE incident. I could go on. I have a whole list of these. I don't have time to go through. Each one is horrible, but I'll spare everybody here. In my view, these stories demonstrate a clear pattern of state-sponsored violence and abuse. When ICE launches raids, they do so masked like cowards. They do so without judicial warrants. They go to arrest children while wearing more body armor than I wore in Iraq and Afghanistan. And while they are terrorizing some of our most vulnerable residents, the Department of Homeland Security is threatening to have opposition party leaders arrested for speaking out against it. This is not hypothetical. As I mentioned a moment ago, the Democratic mayor of Newark was arrested last week for attempting to conduct oversight of a privately run ICE detention facility. Y'all, this is fascist behavior. As we wait to see whether DHS will follow through on the threat to arrest more Democrats, it is apparent that this is not just an issue for undocumented immigrants. This is an issue for anyone who might speak up to suggest that maybe, just maybe, these people who came here seeking a better life, shouldn't receive a life sentence in a Salvadorian concentration camp without due process. Immigrants don't come here to make our lives harder. They come here to contribute, and often they come here because they're desperate, because this is the only safe haven they can reach, whether they're fleeing cartel violence in northern Mexico, gang violence in Honduras, a collapsed economy in Venezuela, or poverty in Haiti. And in almost all cases, they make our country better. We should not pull up the ladder. We should help them, because that's what public servants do. When I think of public servants, I think of postal carriers, park rangers, VA doctors and nurses, homelessness counselors, firefighters, and the many helpful police officers I've met in Dallas. I think of all the people I worked with in the military, at VA, and at HUD. Moreover, I think of the helpers Mr. Rogers talked about. You may remember that he once famously said, "When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, 'Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping.'" That's what I think of when I think of public servants. But ICE isn't helping. They're not helping anyone. They're not making us safer or more prosperous. With every new headline, I find it harder to understand what role they're playing that would allow us to even call them public servants. What I'm seeing instead are masked thugs terrorizing communities across America. And I don't want to see that here, not in my city. If there is one thing I could express to Chief Como as he navigates DPD's role, it is that his first job, his job above all else, is to protect Dallas residents and to keep them safe. I read that on DPD's website in its mission statement. It said the department's goal is to, quote, "help people and provide assistance at every opportunity," end quote. It says nothing about acting as an enforcement arm of an out-of-control federal agency based in Washington, D.C. So my personal hope is that our law enforcement will do whatever it takes to protect all Dallas residents, even if it is from the federal government itself. I believe that is the police chief's job. Therefore, my view is that it's important that we formally express our dissatisfaction with his willingness to collaborate with ICE, and we express our desire to see all Dallas residents protected, especially those in our community who feel justifiably threatened by ICE. His decision will determine what we, as a city, stand for as protests and raids escalate this summer. I think this is a crucial part of our mission in overseeing the Dallas Police Department on behalf of our districts and residents, and I look forward to discussing this with you all. Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.